Senator, nice to speak to you, sir.
Nice to be with you. Thanks, Greta.
Senator, we all have Senator Lindsey Graham stories, but you go so far back with him. I mean, your whole life in the House and in the Senate has been with Senator Graham. You came into the House 2 years after, I think, and 2 years in the Senate, 2 years after getting into the Senate. So, you know, I assume it's very, very personal to you. It's not just business.
It is. It's a huge loss for the country, Greta. I think, as we all know, Lindsey was a bigger-than-life impact player in terms of the international scene, domestic politics, legislation, policy, things he was passionate about. But like you said, there are a lot of us who knew him as a close friend. He was that to me. He was a trusted advisor, somebody I could go to and give me straight advice and counsel, and just spent a lot of time through the years. And I'm really, really incredibly sad and still in shock. I think like a lot of people are, but we're doing our best to process it, and you know, we just have to make the best of a situation and do everything we can to honor and give tribute to Lindsey and his life and his impact, and just the difference he made here as a public servant through all these years.
Well, I think it's fair to say he died with his boots on. He was in Ukraine just the other day, and he wasn't sick for a long time. It wasn't like a lingering illness. It's just that he went from doing what he liked most to suddenly leaving us.
Right. Yeah, you know, in what more, if you think about Lindsey and the number of times he's been to Ukraine and the passion he had to ensure that Ukraine was a free and independent nation, and the relationships he built not only there but around the world in support of freedom and democracy. He is an incredibly impactful, consequential person in terms of all these issues, and I can't think of a more, you know, being in Ukraine and unfortunately what happened in his passing, but no more fitting tribute than to go out doing what he was passionate about, and that is trying to help countries secure their freedom and democracy other places around the world.
Well, he lived such a simple life, too. I mean, even like, he didn't get rich on Capitol Hill. You know, sometimes there's been criticism of people making a lot of money on Capitol Hill. He certainly did not do that. He grew up at age 21. His parents were both dead. His father had just died. He had to raise his sister, who was then 11. They lived in the back of a bar, and they moved to a trailer and then to a home. I mean, he lived a real American life.
He did, and it was a very hard-scrabble background, a very tough background. And you think of how he managed to take care of his younger sister, who was 9 or so years younger and still a teenager at the time when they lost both parents, and you know what he had to do to support her through the years, and then his rise through, you know, the South Carolina legislature, then in the House of Representatives, and now, of course, the Senate. All the things that he's accomplished through the years. He was somebody who was a huge difference maker. If you look at people who serve causes greater than themselves, Lindsey comes to mind, pops up. He would be first of mind to everybody, I think, anybody who served with him or been around him. But his background, coming from that to what he has achieved and accomplished here, is a great tribute not only to him as an individual, but also just to the you know, the circumstances around his upbringing. Obviously, he was raised in a way that he had a passion to make a difference, and he certainly did until the very end.
And of course, I don't think he could be prouder than, first of all, the whole nation's got flags at half-staff, and now his sister will, I mean, I can't think of anything he'd like more than have his sister take the oath of office.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, Greta. His sister, what a great tribute to Lindsey. What a great extension of his legacy. And obviously, there would be nothing, I think, that would be more meaningful to him than to know that his sister was going to be able to continue on after him.
Have you spoken to President Trump at all since Senator Graham passed?
I haven't. We've been trying to connect here, and probably will yet today, I assume. But I know that the president, of course, had an incredibly close relationship with Lindsey through the years. They had a very direct relationship in which they could say things to each other that perhaps others can't, and still be friends. And that's a remarkable tribute to Lindsey as well, and to the president, that they were able to get along on that level. and do really consequential things for the country at times, and even when there were differences that existed between them with respect to the path forward and in the direction we might be headed at the time. But both are people who have strong views and are passionate about making a profound difference for the future of the country. Both have, and in many cases because they were able to work together so constructively.
Can you just, and I don't mean to pry too much, but can you peel back the curtain a little bit and tell us how you learned? And then I assume that you've been getting 1,000 phone calls from everybody. I mean, even everybody in the media wants to talk to you about this. But can you tell me how you learned? And I mean, I know when I heard, I said, "Are you serious?" I mean, I didn't. Who would believe something like that?
Well, it was one of those circumstances, of course, when it happened, and getting a call from a member of my staff saying, "We got really bad news for you," and I'm like, "What? You kind of bracing yourself?" I had no idea. I mean, I couldn't have been more shocked, and like I said, it's still sinking in. I think a lot of us are still processing the news, but. And then I just think as you work through this, I talked yesterday to the governor of South Carolina, talked to Lindsay's sister Darlene, and a number of my colleagues throughout the day, friends who were watching, observing all this. I think we're all dealing with what is just a really sad circumstance, tragic circumstance, huge loss for the country, and certainly something that it's going to take a while for a lot of us to work through. I can't imagine a United States Senate without Lindsey Graham. I really can't. I mean, his enthusiasm for the job, his energy, his passion for the work, his belief in what makes this country great, and wanting to be able to share that with other places around the world, and his sense of humor. I mean, I tell people this, and I mean it sincerely. There aren't a whole lot of people that can make me laugh. Lindsey could always make me laugh, and he always he had a sharp wit. He used it in a way to communicate important principles and to get across his argument in ways that are very winsome, and I think he won a ton of people through the years just because of the power of that personality and the sharpness of his intellect. He was very gifted, not only as a with a great intellect, but also as a great communicator, and those are skill sets that in this business work really, really well. But he used them effectively to get his point across, to win people over, and to get things done for this country. And for that, I think we can all be grateful.
Indeed, we can. Of course, this city, life is very fragile, and periodically we get these horrible jolts to institutions that we've known for so long and have just taken for granted, and that's our friendships here in this town. Senator, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Greta. Good being with you.